Dobbins.
Here.
Shannon Duncan.
Honey.
Wanda Hatfield.
Honey.
Rex Jordan.
Here.
Mike Shambaugh.
Here.
Ray Bakershaw.
Honey.
Gil Smith.
Here.
Denise Taylor. Here. Victoria Vasquez. David Walkingstick.
Honey.
Brian Warner. We have a quorum.
Thank you. I'd like to ask for approval of minutes.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
On reports, Marshall Lamb.
Good afternoon, Council.
Hello.
Hello, Marcia. I just have a couple of things to report on. As you know, we've had the housing voucher program going on, and we've extended it, and we have gone ahead and taken applications. But at some point, we will stop it, and that will be July 31st. And we'll put notices out and everything. Now, saying that, we do have other programs that can also do the same thing as needed. So I just didn't want you to think that there's just no other services for that, but it just won't be under this program. Our LIHEAP summer cooling payments will go out July 19th. Now, I want you to keep in consideration that will just be, they'll be mailed out to the vendors, and that doesn't mean that it'll go out in one big bulk. They do it a little at a time, and so, but we'll start making those this month. And up until then, remember that this is not an ongoing program. The client is responsible for paying their bills, and this is like a supplement that will help them. And so I'll just open it up to any questions you might have.
Any questions? Victoria?
Yes. The very first program you mentioned, I did not hear that. The one that you said is going.
It's the clothing assistance program.
Okay.
We're going to stop that July 31st.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
You're welcome. Sean?
So they can just go into the, like in my case, the Stillwell office and apply till July 31st.
Yeah.
And Marcia got a text here, just to clear this up real quick. Talking about the incentive pay. Said they asked, and they said the incentive is only for outstanding work, and the rest would go towards getting a building put in.
Those, are you talking about
the-
the one in your
Yeah.
area?
Mhm.
Okay, those participants received incentive pay back in March. That's the only one they will get. It's a one-time deal.
Okay, so they're mistaken thinking that Telequal got another one.
Yes,
So even Telequal just got that one.
yes. They don't do it all at once. The managers do it different times during the year as budget permits, and still will receive those in March. I checked on it this morning just to make sure.
So, all right, so we put this to bed. Telequal didn't get two incentives.
Right.
Stillwell didn't get just one.
And if anyone, we do not give incentive pay to anyone who has a discipline or has a HR issue. That, because this is for good work, this isn't for something that they have made a mistake on and everything. So if they didn't get one, that's why, because that they have, probably will have a discipline on record.
And the next one, we talked about this months ago, the next one will just be sometime after October during that fiscal year.
It's fiscal, during the fiscal year.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Thank you, Marcia.
Marcia, we appreciate what you do. Seem like you know everybody.
What?
I said, we appreciate what you do.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah.
I don't do it. My staff does it.
I brought up a name in Tulsa. There was some guy that was all kind of helped us up there, tribal member, and he didn't give a phone number or anything, but I just told Marcia who it was, and I said, I don't even have the number. I mean, it's me and Jason McCarty were working on it. I give Marcia the first name. She knew who it was. She goes, I just remember him. He'd been in my office. I thought, Marcia, you know everybody.
Well, that old memory's going fast, so.
She's always got to come back.
Yeah.
Community Services, Martha Ketcher.
Marcia Nagata.
Yeah.
You have the reports before you. You have the Office of Environmental Health report before you. Do you have any questions on OEH&E? We received funding in this report period for the IHS regular project funding, and he lists in his report the projects that they submitted for the emergency project funding. We have Billy Hicks in the audience if you have any questions on OEH&E.
Any questions? We'll blame it on Billy.
This report period, we conducted 9 youth events with our youth development adult resident program, 9 events with 210 youth participating, had 11 adult resident activities with 70 adult residents participating. It was good to read that 46 parents were engaged in the youth development activities across our communities. We list several of the communities that we engaged in, and we mentioned these so to demonstrate that we are reaching across the Cherokee Nation counties and districts to serve. And some of the partnerships activities that we engaged in this period was Kenwood and Oaks, where we participated in the Cultural Day and Cherokee storytelling. I would like to commend Pam Baca and her staff for their hard work. This is a staff that's talented and versatile, and they reach out to the communities. They touch the communities every day. I wanted to support them and provide them the resources that they need to just expand their knowledge, their skills, and their abilities to be able to recognize and respond to a youth that may be in a situation. So they collaborated this past year with the HERO project and took a lot of courses. They had like 10 training courses that included youth development, first aid, mental health first aid, adverse childhood experiences, and brain architecture. They also took some grant writing and grants management and social emotional skills training. I just wanted to extend a big thank you to the HERO project for helping us with this project and expanding our knowledge. I mentioned adult resident programs, the one at Sallisaw particularly. I want to commend this staff at the Cherokee Apartments. They worked very hard and very mission-driven. I challenged this team to set some goals and work toward and set some metrics they can measure themselves by, their success by. In doing so, we're now at 98% occupancy at that resident program at Cherokee. We have 2 that we're expediting maintenance and refurbishing on to. We have like 7 in the waiting list. That is a HUD subsidized program for elderly, low income, and the disabled. But in doing so and setting those challenges, we're almost at 100% occupancy, and that was our goal for this fiscal year. I also, one of my sustainable improvement initiatives was to strengthen the internal controls and the management of that program. And doing so, a big thank you to Jackie Reese and the management staff of Cherokee Apartments, who did most of the heavy lifting in terms of implementing programs and processes to improve the integrity of the systems. And that would be Jackie Reese and the management team at Cherokee. They did an outstanding job in implementing those improvements. Cherokee is scheduled for a management and occupancy review by the Oklahoma City Housing Finance Agency coming up in August. I think Michael will be providing his report as usual, but I'd just like to say thank you to the Department of Transportation, who's consistently participated in our veterans initiatives. They're there every year in the food distribution program, and Department of Transportation is a huge asset in the communities and the infrastructure that we provide. And then we did complete a market pay analysis for the Department of Transportation this past year, and we're able to update the scales on many of those crews in the Department of Transportation. And I'm thankful that we were able to accomplish that. And my more recent projects have been engaged in veterans health. I was recently invited to a roundtable discussion with other agencies, including the IHS, CMS, and Indian Urban Health. We met on veterans health. We met with the VA and staffers from Senator Udall and Senator Tester's office. Were able to express our advocacy on veterans health in terms of issues like the interoperability of the health IT modernization project that's occurring between both the agencies that serve our veterans, the VA and the IHS. I also been able to participate in national projects and participating in the national budget formulation, where we're really watching the advanced appropriations for agencies that serve Indian country, primarily IHS and the BIA. There were two bills, one that included the BIA and the IHS, and one that singly identified the IHS. But the recent government shutdown just sparked and re-energized the efforts to achieve advanced appropriations that would avoid tribes having to support the health programs and carrying out the government's trust responsibilities. If we had advanced appropriations, we would avoid tribes having to dip into their own coffers to carry out the programs. But that's some of my more recent activities and engagements, and if you don't have any questions for me, that's all I have this month.
Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Cooper.
Okay, y'all have had a long day, and I think y'all are running a little bit late, so I'm going to try to be quick. I want to start off by thanking Councilors Wanda Hatfield and Mary Baker Shaw and all the other council. I think you'll remember in August of last year, this council passed a resolution in support of the expansion of the Section 184 program into 4 counties in Arkansas. Last week, we got approval from HUD. That they approved that expansion request, and that is done, and those 4 counties are now eligible for the Section 184 loan program. So that is some good news for us, and it was a lot of work from a lot of different people, but 11 months after we started this little project, we got it done. And Todd helped a lot on that, and Chief-elect, and you all, because we went on a advocacy jaunt to DC, and we were able to get that done, and it's been a long time coming. So just wanted to bring that up. College housing program, the applications are ready. They can be picked up in our office, downloaded from our website. I have one here that I'll sell for a small, no. I have one copy here that if someone needs it, I'll get it to them, but you can get it. We will take applications from July 29th through August 9th. That is an AHASTA-funded program, so it is income eligibility. But you'll see the paperwork here. There's a checklist. It says everything they need to bring in. They can probably have everything done and ready to go to bring in the whole packet with them on the dates that we will take it. So that is ready to go.
Say the dates again, sir, sorry.
July 29th through August 9th. July 29th through August 9th, so it's a 2-week period. I think I mentioned, I don't remember if I mentioned last month because I don't remember if we got the notice yet or not, but anyway, we got the award for the Icdbg, the Indian Community Development Block Grant. That was for $800 million plus a $200,000 match. It's right around $1 million that will be used to provide rehab to elderly families. So we will be able to fully rehab somewhere in the neighborhood of at least 35 elderly families' homes. So that's what we're using that grant for. We're already in that process of getting those going and moving, and we will be doing that. The last thing I want to, or a couple of last things. One last thing is the competitive Icdbg grant money. We are working on a grant for that. It is a $200 million national competitive grant. The ceiling is $5 million, so we're applying for that, and that would be for new construction. So we're working on both of those things, and then I think the last thing is I'll just mention for the month ending May, Housing Authority had 216 employees, 94.4%, where Cherokee, whenever we add all Native Americans together, is 98.6%. And the only ones that aren't, I think there's 3, and those are ones that have been there for a long time that transferred over with us from Cherokee Nation. So other than that, I think that's all I've got. I'll try to keep it short for you. But if you got any questions, I'll be happy to answer those. And of course, you all know that you can call me anytime you have any questions, and we'll try to work through it.
Any questions? Yes, sir.
Gary, so they can pick them up now.
Yep, they can pick them up. They can go to hacn.org. They can go to Cherokee Nation's website, and it has a link over to us under college housing. They can print it off.
Hogner Heights and all your
Yeah,
housing.
yeah, whatever works best.
Okay.
Yep, most college students have computer and internet access, so they can certainly, if that's the easiest way for them, especially if they're off at school somewhere, they can pick it up there. Has a checklist. They'll have everything we need to bring. They can go through and check it off as they go.
Thank you.
Yep.
I'll try to make this quick.
Okay.
When we work on someone's home, we put a lien on the home.
Yes.
And so how long does that lien last?
It's based on the amount of money that was put into the home. So it's what we use as a useful life. It varies. I can tell you what it is in this year's housing plan because I have it with me. But it's usually like anywhere from 6 months to 20 years, I think.
And what's the amount for 20 years? It does
A new construction.
Okay.
Yeah, the highest level would be new construction, and then it would be based on the amount of money.
And is it each $10,000? You go more?
No, it starts at, I want to say 7,500. I think it's 7,500, then 10,000, then maybe 15, and then I think maybe new construction or something like that, somewhere in that neighborhood.
So how much, if it's 7,500, how many years?
I'll have to go back and find that. I thought I had it here with me, but I don't see it. Oh, right here it is. For how long? 7,500?
Yep.
7,500, up to 7,500 is 6 months. 7,501 to 15,000 is 2.5 years. Then it goes up to 5 years. 25,000 or more is 10 years. If it's over 40,000, it's 15 years, and if it's new construction, it's 20 years. So for a replacement home, it's 20 years.
And I need to get with you, and so these liens, are they our rules or federal
Federal,
rules?
those are required under the federal guidelines.
And so,
And basically, the whole reason for that is so if federal grant dollars go into a home, that home cannot be sold for a profit. So much of it's forgiven each year until that total time frame runs out.
and so that's not our rule.
No, those are in the federal regs.
So could you send me the federal reg that says that?
Yeah.
And the other thing is, once we put a lien on it, I'm having a individual who could get a VA loan, already had a loan, who could get a VA loan, and today's interest rates, I guess, are a lot
Yeah.
smaller.
Yeah, if they have a lien on it, that stuff like that comes up a lot. All they have to do is submit a subordination request and just put in a letter that information that they're able to refinance at a lower interest rate on a VA loan. Whoever they're getting the loan from will do a subordination request for us. They will send it to us. We'll review it, sign off on it to subordinate that what would have been a second mortgage, we'll take a second seat and let that VA loan move into first place.
So we're willing to take the second?
Yeah, yeah. The federal regs just say that we have to protect our investment.
And did we write that in, and that's where we get the federal regs, or does that come from
No, it comes from the
the
government.
feds?
That comes from the feds. The actual statute, the law says that what the congressional act passed by Congress says that those funds have to be protected.
And so if we're looking at a 10-year payout, basically, and so if somebody passes away and his wife has to sell that house,
Only if it has to sell. If it transfers to a family member, it just continues on.
I'm sorry, I missed that one. Say that again.
If someone was to pass away and the home was to transfer to a family member, we don't do anything. The only time that they would have to pay back a portion is if they were selling the home for a profit.
Okay, so this person that made the note dies. And his spouse comes to the point where now there's not two incomes. There's one social security check. And so she needs to sell the house. It's usually the she that's left. And so is she still bound by the 10-year?
Yeah, but now it depends on how long ago it was that it was signed. Because if it's, for instance, if it was originally 10 years and now it's only 5, then the only payback would be half of the original amount, because so much is forgiven each year.
And that's federal reg, it's
Yes.
not us.
No.
Okay, it seems a little bit predatory, because if you're waiting 10 years, you didn't get the house fixed to resell it, obviously.
I'm just going off what the government tells us we gotta do. Says we have to protect that investment, and we have what the useful life is, and that's what, based on how much money we put in it, is how much what is called the useful life is, and that's how long that
Well, and I need to see the federal regs.
lien is.
And I need to see those, and I need to see what we agreed to. Each year, you send in a new plan, I think, is that correct?
Yeah, it's the same plan usually.
Yeah.
Usually it's just revised, yeah.
And so we stipulate that we agree to that. Do other tribes stipulate that?
Everyone does. In order to get the Indian Housing Block Grant, the NAHASA dollars, you must, it is a block grant, so you do have some wiggle room, but you have to fall within those federal guidelines, meaning we have to check income, and we have to only assist folks who are income eligible. If they are over income and we have assisted them and they weren't eligible to receive assistance, then we have to pay back that grant money through non-federal dollars, at some point in time. Stuff like that. Government requires that we do an environmental assessment on the property before any work is done. We have to do that, and that's what we do. Says insurance has to be provided on the home. It's all of these regs that we have to follow that says, in order to get these funds, you have to do this, this, and this, and this.
Okay, send that to me.
Yeah.
I think we still need to talk. Mike Shambaugh has a question.
Yes, sir. So the only money that is tribal as far as rehab goes is our $10,000 emergency fund, is that correct? Or otherwise, the rest is?
No, there is a smaller amount than that I get to use.
That's smaller than the 10, though?
Yeah, yes, yeah. And basically what we can use those for is to address really emergency, for eligible folks to address the emergency until we can get everything we need to.
Like how much smaller? Ballpark?
I think the total amount is maybe around 200,000.
All right, thank you.
200,000 per house?
No. To help everyone.
Okay. Somebody had their hand up. Go ahead, Mayor.
Hi, Gary. Gary, I have one question.
Yeah.
Whenever we set this up with our Cherokee citizens, do we require that both the husband and wife?
No.
That,
Oh.
no.
I'm sorry, that they both be Native American?
No, that they both be on that title.
Yeah, yes, because the other part of the federal reg says that they have to sign an agreement. So number one, they have to sign an agreement. It's stipulating to that, so both property owners would have to sign the agreement, and that agreement has to be filed on record. So that's why we file it for record. And it's looked at as a lien, but it's actually called a deed restriction agreement. That's the technical term and the term HUD uses for that. And it's about a 3-page agreement.
I appreciate it, and I appreciate you require both.
Yeah,
both
yeah,
their
yeah.
names on it. Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you, Gary.
You bet.
Michael Lynn.
Good afternoon. Just go over some highlights that are not on my report. I hope that you have it in your packet, but just to go through some of these, I know we're running a little short on time. Adair County, the Malloy Hollow Road project, the appraisal work should begin within the next 30 days or so. Once the appraisals are complete, we'll begin meeting with landowners to begin acquiring the right-of-way and easements on that project. Rocky Mountain School Bridge, it's a bridge located right behind the school. The water line relocation is in process, and we're still waiting on the condemnation to finish up on one parcel. We were able to go ahead and get the water line relocation started, but we've got to get the parcels secured so that we can construct the bridge and the remaining utilities. Cherokee County, the Northeast Fort Gibson project is under construction. They're clearing and grubbing the project, constructing bridge headers, and making large fills through the Rocky Top area, as well as building fence through there. Grace Hudlin Road, just outside of Hulbert, is the final parcel of restricted property. Should be sent to the BIA for approval within the next couple of weeks, and the BIA has 30 days to review that and approve it. Ross Street project in the west side of the intersection is near complete. It's awaiting a new signal pole to be installed. We hope to have that delivered this week, but it is striped and ready to go. The other side, towards the clinic, they should be starting to pave asphalt driveways this week and begin the concrete paving. They do have concrete paving from the very east end of the project up to the Birdtail addition. Halfway through that drive, they'll start diverting traffic out to the east for residents that live in that Birdtail addition, and they'll close down from there on working their way to the west. It's a little bit of a traffic nightmare out there. There's a lot of traffic on that project, and as well as the construction traffic there at Hastings that we're having to work with and work around. I do want to say, though, Flintco and the construction crews there at the Hastings Clinic have been very willing and to work with us and let us accommodate our construction project as we are doing with them as well. So, Craig County, Turnpike Bridge, they're headed towards the new clinic, or the clinic there, not new anymore necessarily. We're working to schedule a meeting between the engineer for our road and bridge project and the Veneta Clinic administrator and his staff to go over the impacts that the road project will have on that site. There's going to be some signs that need to be moved and relocated, and a irrigation system that they have out front there. Delaware County, happy to report that the Leach Kenwood project was completed. The contractor emailed on July 3rd stating that the guardrail had been complete. That was the last remaining item. We have sent an inspector up there to look at that project. He's developed a small punch list with just a few items. We haven't transmitted that to the contractor and are waiting to hear back from them on when those items will be complete. Just some miscellaneous items. We did submit a grant to the Federal Transit Administration on July 9th for 3 replacement transit vehicles. The total request was for $180,000. Sorry, $189,000, I believe is what it is. I have a missed typo right here. We've submitted our semi-annual financial report and project status report to Federal Highway Administration, which was due June 30th. And then lastly, I just want to mention that we are closely monitoring the upcoming transportation reauthorization bill. The FAST Act, which is what we're currently operating under, is a 5-year bill that's set to expire at the end of FY 2020. Things are already happening, and we're hearing things out on the street, so to speak, on reauthorization, and we're wanting to try to protect what we've worked for, as well as the funding formula that we feel is most equitable for Oklahoma tribes. So it's something that we're trying to keep our ears to the ground on, and I'm sure it'll become more active as FY 2020 approaches. So, Mr. Chair, that's my report. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
You bet. Any questions?
Just a comment.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Michael, I just want to tell you, thank you for meeting us last Monday at 6:30 up there at the church with the guys. They really appreciated it, and I hope, I'm not sure where we're going with that project, but I do appreciate you coming out and spending extra time to come down and see us.
Thank you, sir.
Yes,
Appreciate
sir.
that.
Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Commerce for Anna Knight.
You have a copy of my report. I did just want to mention there's a new initiative that is being created at a national level called Bank On to try to get people that are unbanked, don't have any bank accounts, and probably use check cashers, payday lenders. And so it's called Bank On, and the Chickasaw Nation right now is looking at certifying their bank in it, and what it would do would be allow people to have a bank account that have maybe had problems in the past that would, they would not be able to overdraw the account at all. It would have restrictions to overdraw it. Wouldn't have any checks, but it would have some debit cards that would be associated with it, and there would probably be a low monthly fee but no per transaction fee. So you'll be hearing more about that in the future. But it should be a pretty good program for, particularly for maybe some of Diane's programs, the workforce programs, the TANF program, for people that just don't have bank accounts, to try to help them get in the mainstream and become self-sufficient. We are also working on VITA. I know we just finished with it, but now we start planning it again. It really is a pretty big event, and we were recently invited to, they call it VitaCon, which I thought was kind of an interesting name. So we'll be sending Jill up there, and we're working on the Ross program, and we're calling it the Financial Empowerment Program, but we have almost all the staff on board, and we're working really closely with Gary's group, because we've actually staffed these people at some of the housing authority offices. And once we can start developing relationships with the residents, we would not only help them with financial coaching, but we would be almost a center of information for them, so that as we sit down and visit with them, we would make referrals to career services, we would make referrals to education, trying to help them access all the services that are available through the Cherokee Nation to help them become more self-sufficient. So you'll be hearing more about that program in the future, and we will hopefully be working with the counselors on community meetings, coming to some of their community meetings, and perhaps even working on some block parties in order to get people familiar with the program and with our counselors that are in those areas. So other than that, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
I just have a comment.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for that 184 update. I just been getting text today, and appreciate that.
Yes, we've already gotten a lot of questions about it, so it'll be a good thing.
Yeah.
Where's it? Sorry.
Go ahead, Sean.
Now, the new section 184, was that just Arkansas?
It's just 4 counties in Arkansas.
4 counties in Arkansas.
Right, Crawford, Washington, Bastion, Bentonville? What's the 4th one? So just right up there next to the Oklahoma border, just that area.
Thank you, sorry.
Walking stick.
Why is it just those counties?
Those were the counties we had, in order to make the application, and Gary may be able to speak a little bit better to this, we had to be able to tie where Cherokee citizens were actually located in lands that were historical to the Cherokee Nation. that we can tie to the Cherokee Nation. So those were the counties. Previously, when we had asked for the entire state, we were denied. So we took a different approach and went after specific counties where most of the Cherokees were.
And she's 100% accurate. Just one thing I want to add to that is we also had to show that there was already existing services that were being delivered in those counties. And because our higher education scholarships attached to contiguous counties, including those in Arkansas, we were able to show that we're servicing scholarships in that area as well. So the other thing to note is this is the first time it's ever been granted for a request for an aid to have section 184 expansion.
So we could possibly, does Kansas already have 184s?
Kansas does.
Okay.
And the Choctaw have requested Texas, but they were denied, so.
Interesting. I appreciate that. It's a way to be innovative. The art, God, what's that called? The cafe down there.
The Cowie?
Yeah, Cowie. So you guys oversee that, right?
Correct.
Okay. And then the art classes as well, where the arts are?
We manage the art center, yes.
I had a constituent visit with me earlier about they were under the impression that we was getting federal money and to fund some art programs, and that we're charging some people for art classes, but we're paying these vendors that are maybe our employees, and they're not vendors, and maybe employees, but we're paying them out of this federal grant, but we're charging people for art classes.
No, the majority of the classes down there are taught by artists that are not, they're not our employees. And so they're taught by artists, and the artists charge the fees for the classes. It's right in the very middle, yeah. That is one of the ways that we try to help artists increase their businesses by creating other revenue streams. So we do not, the artists advertise it, they collect the money, they collect the fees, we don't do any of that.
Okay.
And it's funded by.
So these are just personal vendors that are coming in and doing arts.
They're Cherokee artists.
Cherokee artists, yes. But they're their own vendor. They're not employees of ours.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. There may be some that are employed in another capacity with the Cherokee Nation that are holding art classes.
Now, if somebody wants to teach a class, what's the process?
They reserve a space. They contact Matt Anderson and they reserve a space.
Okay.
And we do teach a few classes at some different times that we charge for, and that money comes back into the art center as revenue. But the majority of the classes are taught by independent Cherokee artists.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
I have a comment to that.
Yes, sir.
Yes, that is really a good thing that we offer our artists there. It may not be big enough. I mean, because I've seen times where that place is packed, and in the evenings you have a lot of our, I say a lot, I see a lot of some of our national treasures there finishing a project, and they're all retired, but they're always got something going on there. It's usually busy throughout the evenings there. It's a good thing.
The national treasures have their own dedicated room there that they get to work in, and that they hold classes in. So, yeah, it does stay busy. The artists really, they use it and they appreciate it.
If you ever need anything to expand, or if we're up, for the machines or whatever they need, let us know, because this is really, a lot of people take advantage of that.
They do.
Yes.
They do. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Chair.
You're welcome. First-time home buyers, do they go through you or Gary or?
If they're getting mortgage assistance, down payment assistance to purchase a home, they come through us.
Anyone else? Thank you.
Thank you.
Icdbg Moore.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
I have my report from May, and as you can tell at the back, it was Foster Care Awareness Month. And it, of course, talks about the increase that we've had in homes. Something else that you might be interested in is that our foster children that are in the 4C program have been enjoying our heirloom seeds that we received this season. and they have budding corn and squash, and they're planning to cook bread and things of that nature. So if you happen to be by the downtown office and want to see the product of their hard work, it's back behind our offices. So that's kind of a joy that's going on right now. And as to One Fire, one thing that you might be interested in is that we've hired a life coach through a grant. Her name is Cheryl Roundtree. She's a very sweet lady, and she's helping our women from anything from tutoring. We have a couple of victims that are still in school, so she helps those wanting to get a GED. Some just need help on mock job interviews and types of questions that might be asked. So she's doing an amazing job with those women. And then we also have a cultural advocate where we're also providing the equine therapy similar to what Indian Child Welfare did. So just some ways to help citizens that find themselves victims of domestic abuse or sexual assault. A lot of trauma that goes on there. And so we do have staff that try to help give them a hand up and get them back on their feet. Also on Thursday at 10 will be Charles Head Day. It's the day where we release butterflies and honor our victims. It's done on his birthday, also a form of remembering him and the program that he was instrumental in getting going before he passed. So that's just kind of a small report from Indian Child Welfare and from One Fire Victim Services.
Any questions? Yes, ma'am.
Where does a life coach work? Is it in Cherokee County or all counties, or?
It's through Contract Services. That's the grant that we wrote.
Okay.
And so they would just go to the Tahlequah office.
Okay.
And of course, when they come in and we do an intake, we see if that would be something they're interested in. But definitely just send them in, and as long as they're a victim of one of those areas, then they'll qualify, and we'll help however we can.
Thank you for your good work. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you.
Okay,
Appreciate
thank you
it.
very much.
Community outreach, Kevin?
So you have my report. It on the surface appears a little light this month, but as you know, we just finished our conference yesterday, and so we've been busy the last month or so. So are there any questions?
Boy, that was a good report.
Yeah.
Oh, we got one.
That one-
Just a minute.
I
We're so
think
close.
you blew it out of the water over the weekend. I really do. And it was the first time a conference had been held in the new facility out by the casino. And I think it's just going to grow into something even better. Thank you for that. Your staff as well.
I appreciate that. We had both the conference center and CCO learned a few things and rallied the second day and worked really well together. And they were very accommodating, and so I appreciate your words.
I do have to say, you all owe Gary and I dinner. I mean, we were out there setting some tables. I don't know.
You were, and I sure appreciate it. Thank you very much.
I
Sorry.
want to thank you. It was a great conference. I think the largest attendance, and I love that you included children. I mean, there were so many children there and young people.
Yes, we had over 40 youth.
Thank you. Thank you for the work. Appreciate it. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Kevin. Veteran Center, Barbara Foreman, don't see her, but, okay, listen, old business, none pending. New business, and we need to take all of these over tonight, so those of you who read them in, please do that for us. I appreciate it. And so, on community services, there's, how about Buell Angling? Buell, you want to take that first one? The first one? Yeah. There's a whole bunch of you on there as sponsors.
This is a resolution requesting the Bureau of Indian Affairs Disaster Assistance Fund. I move for its approval.
Second.
And take it over tonight?
Take it over tonight.
Thank you. Any questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it. Number 2, Keith Austin, you want to take that one?
Yes, this is a resolution authorizing an application to the Federal Highway Administration for Tribal Transportation Federal Program Bridge Funding for bridge number 249 over Horsepen Creek in Tulsa County, Oklahoma. I move for its approval.
Second.
Second?
It
You
needs
got
to be,
approved?
it needs to be sent over
Need to
tonight.
be sent over tonight? Is that okay, Keith? Yes, sir. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, ayes have it. And number 3, how about, Denise Taylor? You were on there first, looks like.
How about that? This is a resolution approving and authorizing the submission of the fiscal year 2020 Indian Housing Plan to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, and I move for its approval, and it also needs to go tonight.
Second. Motion and second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it. And so we go back to, any announcements? None? Next meeting is tentatively scheduled for Monday, August 12th, 4 p.m. Anybody want to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.